Welcome to our special Roadman Tour de France live podcast for stage 16.
Stage 16, and it was a sprint stage, potentially Mark Cavendish's last ever sprint stage in the Tour de France. We had high hopes, but they didn't transpire. Today we're going to talk about Biniam Girmay crash, Jasper Philipsen, is he the most dangerous sprinter in the world? Is the green jersey battle back on? But top of the show, we're going to talk about some of these allegations that Mark Cavendish held onto a car going up Plateau de Boyer just before the rest day. So let's dive into it. Sarah.
Anthony, yeah, so as you mentioned there, we kind of like to do a little bit of a roundup of gossip, salacious gossip that's been going on online since the last stage. We had a rest day yesterday, which was, I think somebody coined the phrase as it's a truce for one day, which I love. But yeah, there's been rumblings online that basically a lot of people have been kind of saying that Cavendish was holding on to cars up the last climb on stage 15. And one tweet that I picked out in particular goes, Cav, not even 4 minutes slower than Jorgensen and 8 minutes faster than Fuglsang. Yeah, no way that's legit. Only 10 minutes slower than the Pantani record. There has been a bit of discourse online about Cav cheating, holding onto cars, because it was very touch and go. When we were watching the stage, they had a graphic up as to how far behind the winner, you know, the head of the peloton, Cav was, and we were all like, Willie, won't he make this? He still has, I think he had 16 minutes left to get up that climb, which is...
No, he didn't. No, it's a 50-minute climb.
That's what I'm saying, but he was running out of time rapidly.
Okay, let me jump into some of the stats on it. So it's a Plateau de Boyer. It's a 15.8 kilometre climb from bottom to top. So it's 7.9% gradient. So for context, Pogacar rode it in 6.98 watts per kilogram for 39 minutes and 50 seconds, which is insanely fast. And the other day we were asking people to throw in and multiply their weight in kilograms by Pogacar's 6.98, and it ends up being a crazy number.
Yeah, we did mine. Mine's 7 million watts for
7 million
39
gigahertz.
minutes. Yeah.
But you would expect sprinters to lose roughly 1 minute per kilometre going up a climb like that. So you would expect Cavendish to be 15-16 minutes slower than Pogacar. So some of the comparisons that we're seeing here, like Jorgensen, what was he said, that tweet, he was only 4 minutes slower than Jorgensen. Yeah. Jorgensen rode the first 5k to climb and then sat up and drank a can of Coke and probably had an ice cream going up to climb. And Fuglsang, like 8 minutes faster than Fuglsang. Fuglsang probably stayed with the bunch all day and then, you know, cruised up the last climb. He had no incentive. He wasn't pushing for time cuts. And the 10 minutes slower than Pantani's record, sure, it's a totally different set of conditions that they're going up in. Like, is it a different wind that day? Is there different equipment that day? So to break it down and show you some of the stats on Cavendish's ascent. So Pantani was indeed just under 10 minutes faster than Cavendish. So Pantani took 45 minutes and 45 seconds. That was in the 1998 Tour de France. By contrast, Armstrong was in around that as well. It took him 45 minutes and 30 seconds back in 2002. So Cavendish, he was only 15 minutes slower than Pogacar going up the climb. That's what we said we'd roughly expect Cavendish to lose, 1 minute per kilometre. It took him 54 minutes and 51 seconds. That's an average speed 18.25 kilometres per hour, or 4.66 watts per kilogram to go up the climb that fast, which is well within the realms of Mark Cavendish to pull out that sort of climbing at the end of a stage like that. Like, I'd ride up at him 4.66 at the end of that. So there's nothing in the data that supports the Cavendish held on to a car whatsoever or had any sort of mechanical assistance going up the climb. So it's just blatant Twitter speculation. But also, like, the thing, even if we didn't have any of this data, which I think it's pretty conclusive from that data to say Cavendish had no motor assistance going up the car. But, like, we got pictures of a guy throwing a packet of Doritos at Pogacar the other day. You don't think with everyone on Plateau de Boyer, if Cavendish held onto a car, we'd have a video of Cavendish holding onto a car?
I trolled the web and the dark web for photos.
Well, you wouldn't need to troll it. Like, if there was that picture there, it would have been front of cycling news. Cavendish, think about it, right? Cavendish has broke the record. He has this legacy in the sport now that's going to endure well past the 2024 Tour de France. Do you think he's going to tarnish that, holding on to a car, going up a climb and get thrown out of his last Tour de France?
I don't think it's beyond the realm of possibilities that he did it. So I know I often talk about the couple of times that we were at the Tour. People who are struggling up the climbs, they're getting pushes from the spectators.
That's
they're
different.
Okay, but you know what I mean? They're getting pushes from the spectators. They might be having like an extra long sticky bottle or something, and no one really minds. I as you said, the time cut's not there to knock people like Cavendish out. It's more to make sure that people who are genuinely very sick and can't go on are eliminated from the race.
That's just cheating. Like, you can't hold on to cars going up climbs. That's just cheating.
Okay.
Whatever about a fan pushing you, or you getting some mechanical assistance coming back if you've had a flat tire. Like, there's unwritten rules in cycling. I know coming back from a flat tire, or you change a bike and you're behind a team car, that's technically cheating. But anyone who's been around cycling long enough, everyone turns a blind eye to that. Fans, commissars, everyone turns a blind eye. Holding on to a car going up a climb is black and white.
It's just cheating.
It's cheating.
Okay,
Cavendish
gotcha.
will 100% not do that in a race like the Tour de France.
Yeah, no.
Also, like, I just don't get how people think there's not going to be pictures of it, or how there's not a commissar with them going up the climb, or how Matt Stevens literally was on the motorbike the entire climb with Cavendish.
Matt Stevens
going
is
up it.
not going to
He's not
rat
gonna
on
snitch
Mark
maybe, yeah.
Cavendish.
But I think we can put that on the bed.
I think so. Let's move on from there. Okay, so a few comments from the riders after stage 15. We still have Jonas Vingegaard, who's over 3 minutes behind Pogacar. He is still coming out with fighting talk. He came out and said, "I will simply not accept this result." He basically vowed to keep on battling on for the Tour de France yellow jersey, and he said, "I'm not going to accept this result. I won't go down without a fight. I've won the Tour de France twice. I'm not here to ride for second place. I'll do everything I can to try to take the victory." So there you go.
It sounds like he's disputing an election result there with mail-in ballots. I will not accept this result. I think he's going to have to accept it. I don't know if there's much.
There's no way that he can get this time back over. If you've had a look over the next couple of stages, you don't think there's any way that he can get back time?
Look, we can have a quick look at it. Now, look, it's a hard last week. They're heading back to the Alps for sure, and there's a lot of climbing, but the gap has got wider as the stages have gone on. So, like, we'll go through tomorrow's stage towards the end, but looking ahead to the upcoming stages, there's a lot of climbing on stage 18. Again, stage 19 has 2 horse category climbs. Stage 20, the Queen stage, probably. So really tough climbs in there, like called the Turini, Cat 1s. There's 3 Cat 1s before a Cat 1 hilltop finish. You don't want to say it's over, but it's Pogacar's getting stronger. Like, if the bookies are really, really heavily weighing a Pogacar win here.
Yeah. Okay, and then something else I found online that I thought was really, really interesting. Tobias Johannesson, he's the ex-mobility rider who was ahead of Pogacar and Vingegaard on stage 15. He was a little bit further up the climb. And when he was asked about when he got passed by the 2 lads, he said, "When those 2 guys went past me, it's like I don't even do the same sport as them." So that's how quickly they went by him, and he was just
X-Men.
like, "X-Men."
Lucky Cavendish didn't go past him. Hold on to the car. Okay, so let's dive in and have a look at today's stage 16 Tour de France. As we said, potentially Cavendish's last ever chance to sprint in a Tour de France. Has it been 100% confirmed that he's finished next year? I know he is finished next year, but has he actually come out and said he's finished?
I actually don't know. I meant to ask you that and pose that question to you earlier, because I'm sure he could potentially come back. I think he's done, isn't he?
He's done.
Yeah.
You can even tell the way he's sprinting at the moment. The day after he got the record, he said he woke up, and because Geraint Thomas said to him in the bunch, like, "What are you doing here today? Why didn't you just quit?" And he's like, "I have too much respect for the race." But he said he had a feeling of like, now what? And you can see that in the final of the sprints. Like, when it starts getting a little bit hectic, he's just like, "You know what? I've rolled that dice of chance one too many times. I just don't want to do it again." So today's stage, it was 188 kilometers finishing in Niamey. We had 1 categorized climb today. It was a Cat 4 climb. It was 1.2 kilometers long, 5% gradient, and it was 76 kilometers from the finish, and it had 0 effect on today's stage.
Today's stage was a real one where you could kind of get along with your day. You could probably full on watch
yeah, the
whatever
gravel stage, you had
Netflix
to
show
call
you're
in
listening
sick.
to. Yeah. Today was not like that.
No. Today, I suppose the feature of it was 10 roundabouts in the last 10 kilometres. That was the main kind of thing that would have been getting riders nervous. And I know we were talking a little bit about apps that riders are using. Because what was the app you were asking about? My Epic Ride is the app that a lot of riders are using to figure out wind directions. And
Okay.
that was kind of maybe something that was causing a little bit of tension. So there's the two apps. There's VeloViewer that Larry Warbass mentioned in commentary. So VeloViewer will give you like advanced preview of what the roads look like. So if you're coming in through a town, you go, oh, it looks like it's tightening up there. There's a bridge there. It's pinching there. It's essentially like Google Street View. But all the teams are using the same app. So they're all getting stressed at the exact same time, because if a bridge looks like it's pinching, all the directors are saying to their team, you need to be in the front. So there's this big swell to the front.
But how, okay, so yes, they're using apps that essentially give you kind of the pinch points in the wind direction. But does somebody go and do a recce? Or I know the mountain riders will know the climbs quite well, but they will go and do a recce.
They'll do a recce, yeah, because VeloViewer, it won't give you the perfect side. Like we've used it in lead outs before, and it won't give you the perfect side of a roundabout to go. So if you go left of the roundabout in the shortest way, exactly that. The only way to do that is actually be at speed. And like we were for Skoda over at the Tour de France in one of the lead cars, like you seen our driver, who's an ex-Agi Dozere rider, and he was just railing the roundabouts on the wrong side of the road because the roads were closed. So someone like that then would report back to the team cars and say, roundabout with 8k to go, stay left. Roundabout with 7k to go, stay right. So they're writing this down, and then they're feeding that real time back to the riders. But yeah, that was really, when I was looking at the stage in advance, the kind of noteworthy thing. It wasn't the climbs, it wasn't the wind, because the wind didn't blow today. It was position through those roundabouts. Before we jump in to talk about how the whole thing unfolded, can we just do a brief bit of business? The podcast and the show on YouTube, it's only possible because of our amazing sponsor, Wattbike, who sponsor today's episode. I used to have such a nightmare coming home from work and trying to take the legs of a turbo trainer, trying to fold them out from a closet, trying to take back wheels off, getting oil all over my hands. Wattbike simplified all that. I just jumped on the bike, it's ready to go, connects to Ruby, Zwift, whatever your favorite virtual platform is. You're just up, you're ready to go in seconds. Wattbike have an amazing deal for anyone who listens to the podcast. Use code ROADMAN, ROADMANTEN, at checkout, and you're going to knock 10% off your Wattbike when you go to wattbike.com. Back to the business.
Love-hate relationship with the Wattbike. It's staring at me over here. I haven't been on it in a while. We have when you're in the studio. Yeah. Okay, so how the whole kind of day unfolded. Before you get into the sprint and the exciting part, there was one mad lunatic out there out front for ages. Suicide mission. So this was Thomas Gatchin Inyard. Sorry, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I've butchered that name from Direct Energy. But so, can you explain to me why this guy would have chosen this? Okay, I know we spoke about breakaways. You want to get your jersey out there. You want some TV exposure for your team. Why would he go out and spend all day out on his own? It looked like such a long, boring day. He was doing average speeds of like 43 kilometers an hour and stuff. But
it's a big effort.
What is the motivation there? What's the tactic?
Well, he didn't have to share the TV time with anyone.
Right, okay, that's it.
Absolutely no chance today. Wasn't going to be a bunch sprint. So not a lot of people were motivated in the third week of a Grand Tour to go up the road when there's zero chance.
He would have been hoping somebody went with him, though.
He was, yeah. Like, so you got to think of the teams that wanted to put someone in the break. So you've GC teams, no interest in putting someone in the break. You've sprint teams, no interest in putting someone in the break. So then you have your teams who've got very little out of the race so far. So you're looking at teams like Bahrain, Ineos, teams like that. So they're thinking, okay, we need to put someone in a break. What are the chances of a break going to the finish? Today, a chance of a break going to the finish? Practically zero. So not a lot of love for that. So he would have attacked, hoped that one of the other teams that were motivated for a breakaway went with him, and then looked around and seen the bunch just fanned across the road and thought, oh no, this is going to be a long day.
But like, he stuck with it. It was a real Hail Mary, but he stuck with it. Like, he didn't get caught until about, I think, 25.5 kilometres to go. And then they swallowed him up. He had 2.5 minutes on them for a while. So, I mean, I guess, why not?
Why not?
Yeah.
Wouldn't be for me.
No.
So we got into those final 10 kilometres, as you'd expect. The pace just goes up and up and up. It's like a pot on the boil. The temperature just goes up and up and up.
And my heart rate goes up and up and up. And that
anxiety.
knot in my stomach goes up and up and up as well.
So really the only thing of note in the last 10 kilometres was the Biniam Gourmet green jersey, Skoda sprint points leader, crashing. And he looked in a pretty bad way coming across the line. He's visibly cut up, visibly shaken.
Before the race, everyone was just saying, okay, Binny, all you got to do now is get to stage 21 in Nice and finish it. And it's tied up. Just don't crash. Stay healthy. Stay safe. And then, I don't know, I think we all kind of jinxed him because this happened. Yeah,
because there's such a gap. As long as he was sprinting and getting, he didn't have to win stages, but as long as if Philipsen's winning and he's coming second, third, fourth, fifth, you're still picking up points, and the gap was unbridgeable there. But with him crashing out and then Philipsen winning and getting 50 points, it's thrown it wide back open. We'll look at that in a second. But it panned out really as a quite chaotic, unorganised sprint until Uno X took it up. We had a massive turn from Magnus Cort leading 4 Uno X guys, seemed to have control of the front of the race, but Alpes and De Koning just sprung really late with Van der Poel, as they've just practiced this so much now. Van der Poel's coming so late with Philipsen in his wheel, and when he comes, he's coming so fast that everyone's just pinned. So whatever position you're in, if you're in wheel 2 to wheel 10, you can't move. Like we've seen Concard from Cofidis trying to move up and close that gap where Wout had let a gap, but it just wasn't possible because Van der Poel's going so hard. And ultimately he took up that sprint with probably 350 metres to go, and the way the roundabouts were positioned, you couldn't actually see the finish line until 200 metres to go. So by the time Jasper opened out and he closed the barriers again, and you know, he's Jasper disaster, they were calling him, but I call him Jasper deviation Phillips. He never sprints in a straight line, which, you know, I think sprinting is an art, but he pushes it more to, you know,
he really kind of muddies the lines there. It's all very grey, and as we watched it, I was like, he's definitely going to get pulled up for deviation.
The other angle looked different though that you didn't see, like, because I actually thought of that, and when we initially thought about what we're going to talk in the podcast, a lot of the stuff I wanted to say was around that deviation, but then you see it from a different angle and you're like, oh, it's actually a pretty clean sprint. It's definitely clean by Jasper standards.
There's a few things. Okay, so as the lead out was happening, they were coming more towards the line. I was like, Anthony, what is going on here? Because we had a Uno X rider at the front. It was all in one single line. So we've got a Uno X rider, then we have a Alpecin rider, then we have Mathieu van der Poel, then we have Jasper, and then we have a Uno X rider who's Christoph, right? He's Uno X's sprinter. And I was like, why X rider leading out Alpecin? Like, why is he at the front? Surely he should come off that lead out train, because he's giving the Alpecin guys a free ride. Now, I know he's obviously trying to work for Christoph, his teammate, but surely Christoph can stay in the lead out train, you know, the Alpecin lead out train. It just seemed really bizarre to me. Yeah,
like I've seen people talking about this online, and the problem is this all happens so fast, and really unless you've been in the lead out, you don't understand how fast and chaotic all that is. And split seconds, like a split second hesitation, and you're getting swamped. So one of the main things you want to do is give your sprinter a chance to sprint. So the Uno X guys, yeah, it's not ideal. They prefer to have their 2 guys directly in their wheel so they can lead Christoph out perfectly. But they look back and they're not in the wheel. It's like, well, what are we going to do now? Are we going to ease off the power? Because if we ease off the power, you know, in theory, someone will say, okay, well, why don't you just ease off the power and then you put the Alpecin guys into the wind earlier and then it mistimes their whole sprint. The problem with that is, like, that's hindsight in TV where it's, you feel like you can slow down reality. If you hesitate for 1 second there, you get swamped from behind. Wout wins that stage, or someone coming from behind takes that extra momentum and they're past you. So it's, the important thing is still just giving your sprinter a chance to sprint. And by having it lined out, Like Christoph's not getting boxed. No one's coming up and giving him pressure on his right and his left.
Yeah.
So at least he gets a clean sprint. And like he did get the sprint. Like where did he get? He got a podium out of it.
Yeah, he got a podium. I don't know. It just seemed like I had enough time during that sprint to say to you, I don't understand what is happening here. I honestly think that lead out rider is going back to the steam bus and getting a bit of a spanking, because I don't know. It seemed like he gave Jasper and MVP was literally just chilling.
All you can do is keep the pace high at that point.
Yeah.
Because if he checks to go again, it sprints over. If he checks and gets off the power for 1 second, his race is run. Yeah. He's not getting off the power and back up the power because the momentum's coming from behind.
Yeah. So you mean get back up the power so his rider can get back and comes back onto his wheel, he gets back up the power.
Yeah, like if he checks to force Alpecin into the wind, the idea that he's going to be able to check, force Alpecin into the wind, and then start to lead out again for his lead out man, like it won't happen. They'll just get swarmed from behind.
Yeah, I just thought maybe he should have just rolled off, and Christoph, his guy, should have stayed in the Alpecin lead out train and then come from behind. But look, what do I know? Someone who is not on the podium came fourth, Sam Bennett. What is going on with Sam Bennett this Tour de France?
It's his best result.
Yeah, it is.
He got 6th the other day.
Yeah. So what do you think is going on in Decathlon with him? I mean, or is it just his
form?
Are having
a great season.
They are.
Sam, it's just, I don't know, it's the life cycle of a sprinter, it seems like, when he's on the way up. Beanie and Germay, I can't remember the last stage Beanie won, but I just remember the contrast so vividly in my head, where Beanie came up to Bennett, and it might have been stage 14, wherever the last sprint opportunity he had when Beanie won. Beanie came up beside Sam. Sam's in the shelter. Beanie leans on him, puts Sam into the wind. Beanie wins the stage. And I'm like, I remember vividly Tour of Britain, Quick Step having a lead out for Viviani. Viviani was on the back of the Quick Step lead out and he's about to launch, and this upstart comes along, 19-year-old, 20-year-old from on post, Sam Bennett, knocks Viviani out into the wind. Huge superstar at the time, Viviani, like a World Tour rider, a third tier rider on post. A continental level rider comes along, knocks him into the wind. Bennett launches, wins the stage, and then Bennett goes on to be, one of the greatest Irish sprinters ever. But there's that hunger that was there then. I'm not sure if it's there now. He made a lot of money over the course of his career. He has a kid. He's married. He's living out in Monaco. He'll say all that stuff doesn't matter, but I don't know. How does it not matter?
That's the fascinating thing about sprints. My favourite shot of the sprints is like the drone footage basically from the top, because as you're coming up to the finish line, it's frightening. As you always point out, Mark Cavendish, he bosses, like there's people shouldering him, he's leaning against people, like he's practically sitting on another person just to get them out of the way to get through these tiny little gaps. And for Sam Bennett, like I can totally see why, as your career goes on, that little bit of edge, you might just second guess yourself.
Risk to reward.
Exactly. So look, I hope, I don't think there's any more opportunities for Sam to really shine for the rest of the tour, but best of luck to him.
So today finished out with Jasper Philipsen winning the stage, Phil Bauerhaus from Bahrain victorious second, Christoph third, Bennett fourth, Wout van Aert, who hasn't had a great tour by his standard.
So I did read today that Wout van Aert and Mathieu van der Poel, I don't know if this is spin from their teams, but they say that they're peaking perfectly in time for the Olympics.
No, that's not spin. They're trying.
It makes sense. Yeah. So, I mean, fifth on a stage when you're just kind of, this is training, you're peaking, you're, in a training block. Wout is a beast.
So today's conclusion for me is the green jersey battle is a little bit more open. I don't want to say it's open. It's a little bit of a peak open than before the stage. Before the stage, we would have said the door was slammed shut.
It'd be the robbery of a lifetime if Jasper came and took the green. Yeah, I think he's gone down a lot in people's estimations. No, not
that. Yeah, well, that as well. But I really like Beanie as well.
Yeah, of course. A lot of people didn't really rate Beanie. They thought he was like, kind of a fluke lucky
well, he wasn't their sprinter coming into the race.
Yeah, and now he's just blossomed throughout this Tour de France, so that's been brilliant to see.
So there was an 85-point difference between the two of them going into today's stage in the Skoda green jersey classification, and there's 50 points for the stage win. So Jasper got 50 points and Beanie scored 0 points. So now there's a 35-point difference between them, and we have intermediate sprints coming up. You wouldn't imagine either of them are going to get to the finish on any of the remaining stages for a stage win. So we're really just looking at the intermediate sprints. Now, the intermediate sprints are scored differently depending on if it's a hilly stage or if it's a flat stage. So the remaining stages are all classified as hilly sprint stages. So first place gets 10 points, 6 points, 4 points. So you can see it's difficult to accumulate 35 points without the other rider scoring, because, you know, even if Jasper's winning it and Beanie's only rolling fourth in it, that's only a 6 point difference, and he needs to accumulate 35 points. And we have one opportunity tomorrow, which looks like it's decent. There's not that much climbing before tomorrow, so that could go to, like, both of them could be there sprinting for that. But then when we roll on to stage 18, the sprint point is after 2 third category climbs. You'd imagine they're both still going to be there for that one. Stage 19, the sprint is basically at the start of the stage. They'll be there for that one. Stage 20, it's a write-off. The sprint is after Col de Turini and a Cat 2 before that, so there's no chance they're there for that one. So they've got they've got 3 opportunities to sprint and 10 points maximum available. So 30 points. If you didn't score any of them, you would still say
it's unlikely.
It's unlikely unless Jasper pulls out a ride of a lifetime and gets to the finish in one of the stages, which, looking at them, like, you know, tomorrow, sure, we'll go into tomorrow's stage now. So tomorrow's stage is 178 kilometers. It's starting in Saint-Paul-Trois-Châteaux and it's finishing in Soper-du-Voulieu.
Beautiful.
That is shocking pronunciation.
Anthony has this
Super-du-Voulieu.
Anthony has on the notes that written phonetically, and I'm gonna put it on Twitter later if anyone wants to see how Anthony has phonetically written this. So for Voulieu.
So the move have a native French speaker pronouncing this. We do have a native Portuguese speaker over there in the corner, but he's been no use to us pronouncing this.
Useless.
So, like, tomorrow, there's no way Jasper's getting to the finish, because we have the Cat 2 called the Bayard, and that is coming after roughly 134 kilometers. Then we have the Col de Neuer, which is 7.5 kilometers at 8.4%. Even if he got over the Cat 2, there's no way he's getting over that. And the Cat 3 to the finish, which is 3.8 kilometers at 5.9%. So it's just not going to be a day that the sprinters have a sniff. Potential day for the breakaway. You know, Poggy doesn't need to get any more time. No. You would say Jonas has to try something, unless otherwise this Tour de France is over.
Okay, so I've a couple of questions around this. I just quickly want to go back to this green jersey fight. And is there any circumstance where team directors and mates in teams will start talking to, let's say Alpecin's team will start talking to X and be like, okay, don't contend, or please contend all of the points, or let's see how this goes, so points fall in my favour for sprints. None of that stuff goes on at this level. There's
too much, like, deals definitely happening. There's clicks, and you wouldn't realise there's like the Monaco click, there's the Girona click, there's the Andorra click,
right?
But that sort of stuff is too big. You know, people need to fight for their own dinner.
Okay. I trust you. I trust that's
but
correct.
It's not going to happen anyway. The maths don't work.
It doesn't work. Yeah. Okay, perfect. Okay, and then the second question is, do you think now that the GC is done and dusted? Sorry, actually, before we move on to that, I want to just get a bit of reaction from Jasper Philipsen.
Yep.
So Jasper after the race said, I was feeling good. I had a good rest day and I felt that my shape was improved during this Tour de France, so I was confident that if we could line it up today, we would go for the win. Every stage win is really hard to get to at this level, so to take 3 is a really good job and I think we can be proud. And then he said, everything is possible, but it's really hard. He said, Gourmet is climbing really well. I just hope he's okay after the crash, because he doesn't deserve to lose like this. We'll just try whatever we can, but hard stages are yet to come. We have to go day by day, but we mostly enjoy this win. And some of the pundits on Eurosport, I think it's Danny, she said that the next couple of stages will suit Gourmet a little bit better just in regards to his climbing abilities. And
well, like suit him relative to not having to battle the time cut,
Yeah.
but he's not getting to the finish in any of these stages.
but that was kind of, those comments from Jasper were kind of low key and nice. I mean, he's hardly going to come out and say, I'm delighted he crashed out a kilometre from the finish.
Jasper's
but
only chance of winning the green jersey is if Beanie doesn't get to Nice.
Yeah.
That's his only chance. And to be honest, like to answer your other question as well, is the GC done and dusted? I think Jonas's only chance to win this is if Poggi doesn't get to Nice, because we'll go through the GC. Tadej Pogacar, 66 hours and 7 minutes. Jonas is 3 minutes and 9 seconds behind him. Remco, 5:19. The podium looks a lock there. Unlucky for the ASO, because they obviously would have loved that drama going into the final weekend of racing, so we're all glued to it. Yeo Almeida looks pretty solid in fourth. He's a minute odd clear of Mikel Landa, who fifth, but they're both domestiques for podium riders. Rodriguez, absolute nightmare for our Ineos Grenadiers, is the best placed Ineos rider in 11:27. Yates back at 13. Like the dominance of the GC teams, like, you know, Yates, another UAE rider there as well, and Ciccone in 8th, Derek G in 9th, and Butrago. That kind of tops out the top
10
movement in that. As we said, green jersey competition, it's 376 to 344. They're the only two people to look at, Beanie M. Gourmet and Jasper. And the mountains classification, we don't see a whole pile of movement in that either, with Pogacar 77, Jonas 58, Remco 42, Abrahamsen 36. If Jonas wanted to get something out of this race, he could potentially get the mountains classification out of it if he turned his focus to that, but a two-time winner of the Tour de France is not going to turn his focus to the mountains.
Yeah, a lot of people were saying online that it was kind of like a bit embarrassing that Jonas had to wear the polka dot the other day, kind of like Tadej's leftovers, which I don't really agree with. It's a very, very highly sought after jersey, but yeah.
I don't think so. I think it's a stupid jersey, because it's not the best climber in the race, like, should be the yellow jersey.
Well, you can see, I mean, it's basically the exact same people.
It feels like a consolation prize. Or,
yeah, it's like,
get,
yeah.
What's that award you get in football when you're like pretty bad? Most improved.
Never got that.
So yeah, we're looking forward to getting back into
bit of
climbing tomorrow, and hopefully we'll see a little bit of GC action and maybe a last roll of the dice from Jonas.
Can't wait.
And we'll be back tomorrow.
Yeah.
With our commitment to go live every day for the rest of the Tour de France, and maybe the Vuelta, who knows.
Oh.
Roman, thank you for tuning in to another Tour de France reaction show. We're going to be back again tomorrow with more reaction to tomorrow's stage. If you can't wait that long, there's another video up here which I know you're going to love, and please take a second to subscribe to the channel. That really helps, more than you know.